Okay, here we go. Cam, you can watch? So first thing, anytime you do it, I would say start in either child's pose or sitting in your hero's position, which is sitting on the heels. Again, you could get your big block. You could sit on your block so it helps the ankles. It's going to open up the front of your ankles and your toes. So wherever you are, you're going to take a breathing exercise. Let's start with, you can count an inhale to 5, and then exhale to 5, and then do that maybe a couple times, and then add to inhale 6, exhale 6, and you can go maybe even all the way up to 10, where you're using only your nose to breathe in and out, and try to breathe right down into the belly of the stomach. Try to get out of the chest breathing, and when you're breathing in, try not to tense up. So when you're breathing in, your shoulders aren't coming up, but try to breathe so your body is soft. If you take an inhale and you breathe and you start to find constriction in your body, like you start to feel your body flex, then that means you've probably breathed to your max. So try to breathe until you're almost about to get to that point of tension, and then you'll exhale everything out. Because remember, the exhale is where your body will be able to relax. So in any of the stretches, remember to lengthen the exhale in your stretches so that you are able to feel relief in the stretch, so it's not this pain the whole entire time. So this is number 1, so I guess you can pause me here. Number 2 is, again, we'll do child's pose. So again, big toes touching, and we're going to spread the knees nice and wide as you come down and sit down onto your heels. Remember when you're first starting that it's probably going to be really tight in the hips and the lower back, so start by just bringing yourself to your hands. Take a few breaths here, and then maybe start to walk yourself to your forearms, and whenever you can, maybe to the forehead. But remember, the forehead, if it's too much, you can use your yoga block. You can bring your forehead to the block, or again, you can grab opposite elbows so that you bring your forehead to the forearms. And this is going to help you not have to go as deep. So that's number 2. Pause here. Number 3 is from there, we'll do our child's pose to our Sphinx pose, which is we're going to lay again to the stomach. We're going to grab opposite elbows to make sure that we're in this kind of back bending pose. You're going to relax your glutes, your hamstrings, your calves, and you're going to reach forward with your heart and roll your shoulders back. And again, you're going to take those deep breaths, maybe 5 to 6 seconds. Even closing our eyes helps here as well. And you're focusing on relaxing the belly, letting the stomach kind of all hang out. So we find a little compression in the low back, because what we're doing is we're doing the opposite of what we usually do. Is when we sit, when we stand, we're probably sitting and we're going like this. So see how my back is rounded like this? This is just a normal thing. So maybe watching TV on the couch, stuff like that, this is how your back is. So if you like to watch TV, read a book, do that stuff, you'd be on your Sphinx pose. Now you see my back, it's going complete opposite way, and I'm able to just relax. So the longer you do this, the more that you'll be able to do a back bend. Starting from here on the forearms, I wouldn't go any farther than going on the forearms yet. Number 3, pause here. And then this is cat pulling its tail. So I'm going to do the opposite so it makes sense. So first off, you'll bring your right leg out as far as you can. You're still in the Sphinx pose. And then the second thing is your left hand is going to come off to the side about a 45 degree. You're going to look over your right shoulder and bend your left foot and try to reach back and grab that left foot if you see it behind me. This is cat pulling its tail. You're going to feel that deep stretch in the left quadricep, and you're going to relax the side body. So I'll show you a couple different angles from here. And from behind, Sphinx pose, grabbing. That is cat pulling its tail. You can do that from your Sphinx pose. And then you remember the opposite side, always do both sides. You'll bring the left foot out. You're going to bring your right hand over to the corner. You're going to look over your left shoulder, bend your right leg behind you. So you see the right leg that's behind you, and you're going to grab the pinky side of the foot, the back right foot. Press through your front left toe, that long straight leg on the side. You're going to relax through the hips, the ribs, relax the shoulders, and just breathe. Always breathe, always breathe. Cat pulling its tail. bring it down, come back to Sphinx pose. Give yourself a second, especially before you go back. This is going to be, I guess, the fourth one. If you want to pause here. Fourth one, you just lay on your hands. You can also do one hand off to the side. And we'll do that later, actually. Let's push back. We'll come back to child's pose. Again, so from Sphinx pose, you'll push back. You can keep the knees wide, or this time you can start to try to bring the knees together. This is kind of a classic child's pose. Spreading the knees just a little bit is going to be good for it to hang. It's going to feel better. So the forehead's going to go down, and your hands are going to come off to the side. This is our classic child's pose. It brings more compression in the low back. And rounding and kind of decompressing. So I said compression, but I meant decompression. So we're getting a lot more decompression in the low back. So the wider you spread your legs going into that child's pose, the more you're going to feel it on the inner groin, but you're still going to feel this decompression right here on the low back, which is the lumbar, which is where you need it. Okay, so after that, you can kind of wiggle, you can kind of move yourself, and we'll go into the fifth one. So using blocks, you want to get yourself a block, probably a thicker one to start out with. We are going to go to a restorative bridge pose. So bridge, like car goes over it. You'll start with bringing your feet about underneath the knees, and the knees are about a block distance away from each other, so about hip width distance, and same thing with the ankles. And then you're going to press your hands to the floor. You're going to lift your hips up and bring your low block to your low back, kind of where a little bit lower than your waistband would be. You're going to feel kind of this bone part. It's going to feel kind of stable. And then you have a couple options here. This is just a nice way to relieve the back after work, after a workout, anything like that. But if this is not enough, you can always start to straighten your legs out so you have the block underneath the hip. You notice my body is completely doing the opposite, which usually I am rounding on this upper back. So now we're doing this back bend, so bringing the hands to the side. Another option here is when your feet are back here, you can bring your toes together and let your knees open up. This is for like your butterfly. I'll show you in a different section. I would never recommend moving like this with the block below you, but I'm just doing it for purposes of the book, again, or the video. Toes together. Other way is we bring the feet really, really wide so the knees can kind of bring together. And this is going to help just you not holding your knees together. They're either going to flop out, but if you bring the feet away from each other, they'll just kind of come in, and that'll be good too. Getting out of this pose, I'll go back into it. If you have straight legs, you never want to just lift up from here. You'll always bend the knees, bring them back underneath your knees. You'll lift up the hips and undo it. There's another one little pose if you'd like to try. You could do the same thing from here. Keeping the block underneath you, you'll just bring the knees into your chest, and you're going to find that spot on your low back that you can kind of just rock back and forth. And this is also a great option to get into a happy baby, to open up your hips. So from here, you'll grab inside your knees. I guess this is 6, so if you want to pause here. 6 is happy baby, so hands come inside the knees, outside of both sides of the feet, and you're just going to try to hold on for now. If you can, you want to bring the heels over the knees, and you want to spread the feet nice and wide. We're opening up our center groin and our inner thigh muscles, our abductor muscles, which will be really good. I'll show you from a different angle. This one feels pretty good. With the block underneath, again, knees coming to the chest. And let's see if we can see. Yeah, let's see. Hands come inside, outside of the feet. Relax the shoulders down, relax the tailbone down, breathe here. As you take bigger exhales, you'll pull your heels down a little bit further. Whenever you're done, you bring your ankles together, bring them down, and then grab the outside of your knees. You bring the feet down, you kind of make circles with the knees. You could do the same thing with the block off the ground too if you wanted to do happy baby, but sometimes the block actually helps to get you, because without the block, if I'm doing happy baby, my tailbone's off the ground, so it's just kind of another stabilization tool to help you ease into this stretch. Anytime you're done with that, we'll go on to the next one, which is windshield wipers. You bring the feet about hip width distance, knees hip width, hands off to the side, and you just bring the knees back and forth. So I recommend people doing this very slowly. So you inhale to bring up, and then you exhale to bring down, and you're just going to relax the neck to the floor. You're going to relax your shoulders, your face, your mouth, and you're just going to really focus on breathing and going back and forth. If one side feels really good, I always recommend just holding your knees off to the side. Holding on the knees, especially the side that is tighter, you want to just hold there and breathe. And come back up. That's 6. That's a 10-minute video. Let's see. That's a pretty good way to end. Unless you want to do any lunging. I'm just throwing in there real quick. Remember, if you have the blocks, doing lunges where you're stepping the right or the left foot back and maybe starting to press through the knee or keep your hands to the floor is going to start really helping your quadricep in the back leg, your hamstring, and especially your groin in the front. And it's going to help you compress and pull the knees into your chest when you're on your back. So if you notice, if you go to your back and you kind of pull your knees into your chest, they might be out, they might be wide, but it's going to help you bring the knees together and pull the knees into the chest. And you're going to feel a lot more relief all around the hip flexors doing this. And that's about it. So enjoy this video. Aloha and namaste.